Welcome to week 4 of this series of CAB Conversations. Today we have farmers from Michigan, Minnesota, and Nebraska. We'll start by introducing everybody. Carla, tell us a little bit about your family and your operation.
Hi, thanks for having me. My husband and I live in St. John's, Michigan. We farm on Evergreen Dairy where we milk 400 cows and we have 850 acres of pasture and alfalfa and corn. And I'm the sixth generation on my family farm and we're raising 3 boys of our own. We have 7-year-old twins and a 4-year-old son.
How are things going so far? You mentioned you have corn pasture and those types of things. In this planting season, how have things been?
Things have been going so well that you get really excited when there's a year like this. We got all of our corn planted by the end of April, which is just a huge relief. And we chopped rye yesterday, and all the rain has been happening at the right times. And there are years where absolutely everything goes wrong, and then there are years where things start off, all the corn is growing. So far, it has been a fantastic spring.
We refer to Michigan as the Mitten. Tell us where you're located so folks can get an idea.
I live right in the center of the Mitten. We're exactly in the center of the state. We are half an hour north of East Lansing and Michigan State, and that's where both my husband and I went. And so it's part of the reason why we love living here. We are close to Michigan State, and it's great farmland for dairy because we don't have the best farmland like they have over in the Saginaw Valley. We have great land for having dairy cattle.
Teresa, we will jump to you in Minnesota. Tell us a little bit about your operation, your family, and how things are going so far this spring.
Well, first of all, I farm with my family. It's my husband. We farm on his family farm. We've been here for 115 years. My husband's the 4th generation. Our son would now be the 5th generation now that he's coming in. We farm 2,600 acres of crop. This year we planted half wheat and half beans, so we have 1,300 acres of spring wheat and 1,300 acres of soybeans. And our crop year so far has been interesting because we started out really dry, and everybody was really nervous about being dry, and that was okay with us because we tend to be the wet area. And over the last 2 weeks we've now gotten 4 inches of rain. We do know some people that have gotten up to 8 inches of rain over like by Jamestown, North Dakota, and so that's kind of a little bit of a damper. We farm in extreme northwestern Minnesota. My husband hates it when I call it that, but we are absolutely in the very northwest corner of Minnesota. We farm in the Red River Valley. I always tell everybody that we are 150 miles north of the Fargo-Moorhead area. We are 75 miles south of Winnipeg, Canada. So when you get to the end of the planet, turn around and come back 20 miles. So anyway, but that's pretty much our farm in a nutshell, and we do farm the 2,600 acres with me, my husband, and myself.
When we talk about the breakdown, you mentioned 1,300 acres of wheat and 1,300 acres of soybeans, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we also have planted like sunflowers, non-oil sunflowers, which is the confectionery ones, and we did consider putting in some corn this year, but the planting was just going really, really well. We actually got planted by May 5th, which is the earliest that in all the years that I've been farming with my husband, I don't ever remember being done that early. And of course, everybody thought it was really early, and then we got 2 weeks of rain, and now everybody that's got some crop left to put in is all getting nervous, and because we got Memorial Weekend coming up this next weekend, and it doesn't take too long up here for early to become late. And with little luck now, we did get a frost this morning, down to about 30 degrees, not too bad. And now the extended forecast now for the next 2 weeks, it looks pretty dry. So with little luck, we'll be able to we won't have to hire airplanes to spray. So we're hoping that we'll be able to get our spraying done in a timely manner. So
Thanks, Teresa. Zach, in Nebraska. First of all, to help folks figure out where you are in Nebraska, can you tell us kind of a general vicinity, and then tell us how your spring planting season and a little bit about your operation?
Yeah, Zach Honeycutt, we're in Giltner, Nebraska, and that's about an hour west of Lincoln, 2 hours west of Omaha, right on Interstate 80, kind of the south central part of the state. My wife and I have 3 kids. We farm with my dad and brother. We raise corn, popcorn, soybeans, seed corn, a little bit of milo this year. My brother and I are the 5th generation on the farm. This planting season's been really stop and go, more so than I can remember having for quite a while. I just got done planting about 9 hours ago. Finished up soybeans. I could have finished it a week ago, and it started raining again. I had to go out and finish 60 acres, which didn't take too long. But we just keep getting rain showers here and there. We've been pretty fortunate not to get huge amounts. Like you go southeast to here about 50 miles, and there's areas that have had 10 to 15 inches of rain in the last couple of weeks. Had some pretty severe flooding and fields washing out. We're not used to seeing that kind of thing around here, but so there's some replanting going on, and it's delayed planting in those areas. We just kind of keep getting nice showers. It's enough to keep us out of the field, kind of keep things wet. Enough to cancel a lot of kids' soccer and t-ball games. But really it's just been good moisture that's setting us up pretty well for the rest of the year.
You all have several generations on your farming operations. What brings you back, and what keeps you bringing the next generation back into the operation, and thoughts about that moving forward? Teresa, let's start with you.
Well, I didn't grow up on a farm. I grew up in town, married a farmer, and learned how to farm as an adult. My husband always wanted to farm. Our son went to college and graduated from UMC with a degree in agronomy. He was a crop consultant for a while, and one day he came home and he just said he'd been working, for other farmers consulting and stuff, and he just kind of came home and said he wanted to farm. And good help is really hard to find. And of course, we know he's grown up on the farm, so he knows how to run a lot of equipment and knows a lot about our operation, knows where all the land is, that kind of stuff. And we just thought maybe it was a good time for him to step in. He's still in his 20s, in his mid-20s, so he's got some learning to do as far as taking on a financial responsibility for the business. But no, we're pretty excited about him taking a step in. A little different perspective on the farm because Keith and I have done it our way for a while, and he's got a little different perspective on some things. But that is kind of what makes it evolve to the next generation. So I'm looking forward to the years to come. Mostly concerned about his finance, how he's going to, financially get into this. It is very, he's going to need a little bit more equity to build up his portion of the farm. But eventually, we've got a transition. We've got a transition plan that's going to help him get into the farm without draining our finances.
Carla, what about you? As you look at the future of your operation and combining some of the past history with what's moving forward?
Yeah, my husband and I didn't start out as farmers. We are both from dairy farms, but then when we met at school, we both worked in marketing. He worked for Caterpillar, I worked for TechSmith, and we moved a lot around the country. And then my parents started talking about retiring, and that's when we thought maybe we should buy the farm. We'd already been working in the corporate world for about 6 years, and we knew we wanted to own our own business. And what really works out great is my husband is a workaholic. So if you're working on the farm, then it works out great because you're living there anyway. So we decided to buy the farm for my parents, and they live down the road, and we're raising the kids here. And we both really love the way that we grew up, being with your family all the time and working alongside them and being taught how to take care of the animals and the land and the water and all that. And so being here now and raising our sons with us really just gives you a perspective and gives them a perspective on the work world that we feel really fortunate that we're able to share that with them.
Zach, you said you work alongside your dad and your brother, and you have young children. As you look to how things have progressed to where you are and you look to the next generations, what are some things that you hope you can pass along to them and you see for the future of your family farm?
Well, I've got, like I said, 3 kids, and the oldest 2 already talked about how they want to come back and farm. We'll see where that goes. There's a lot of years before that happens. And the youngest one, he finds every tractor and truck and everything out there, so he's definitely interested. He doesn't like auto steer at all because I put the steering wheel out of his reach. But just making sure that we're preparing our farm for that transition should that be something that could happen. My brother, he's also got 7 kids, so odds are pretty good that there's going to be at least 1 kid out of those 10 that want to come back and farm. So looking at our story, we were in Kansas City for a couple of years. That's where we're going to be having our first kid, and partly thinking, we'd wanted to come back to the farm anyway, and we're a little more interested in raising our kids in a rural environment instead of in a city, suburban environment. So that played a big role in wanting to come back, and fortunately our operation was at a point to where we could come back and become a part of it. And so, just making sure over the next however many years, now and when kid might be able to come back and farm, that we're financially sustainable, that are obviously taking care of the land like we always do, resources, everything like that. But and just kind of cultivating that love for farming into the kids as they grow up and work on the farm, and teaching them that work ethic, finding as much for them to do as we can. I kind of wonder what we're going to do, since we can't make them walk soybean fields with a corn knife to cut sunflowers like I had to do growing up. But there's always plenty to do, and making sure that they know what it takes and really want to do it.
We talk a lot about sharing our stories, and we have been lately. Zach, you are a rock star when it comes to Instagram. We can see the photo behind you, but you can follow you on Instagram as well. What makes it easy, or why are you so open about sharing your story on the family farm?
We kind of comes into where we talk a lot about how disconnected the public is from the farm. Just odds are is probably their great grandparents might be the last generation that was on the farm, and so where people are becoming more and more interested in where their food comes from, they go looking for the information, and we need to make sure that we're a part of that, because obviously there's people that might misrepresent what we're doing, and so I think just finding interesting ways to show and talk about what's going on, what it's like to be a family farm, and what all goes into that. It's something that we probably all kind of need to be doing. I remember hearing one speaker a few years ago talking about how he told his dad that they were going to have to become activists, and his dad didn't think much of that, and I wouldn't go to quite that word myself, but you do need to be out there and sharing with people what's going on, and kind of becoming a trusted voice that they can come and see. Like, I heard this is going on with GMOs or whatever. What do you think of this? And you can't have that conversation if you're not actively being a part of it. So whether it's showing interesting pictures of what we're doing planting, or the kids enjoying being out in the tractor with me, things like that. There's all kinds of interesting ways to kind of draw people into that conversation. I think we need to take advantage of many of those opportunities as we can.
Tracy, you take part in the Minnesota Soybean Board, correct?
Yes, I'm on the board.
As you take in those experiences and share things with us and let folks in on your farm, what are some things that you hope that they take from our conversation?
Well, I'm just kind of hoping that you're talking about the soybean board or from the public.
The public. So being active and forward with the soybean board, taking part in our conversations here.
Well, that's been an interesting dynamic, being that I'm a woman, because I'm a woman on the board. Although I didn't get elected because I was a woman, but the whole deal is that that women can do this too, and as being a farmer out in the field, it's nice to be able to visit with. I don't know if I'm just approachable or whatever, but to have that conversation about our food and what I'm doing and what I'm growing. And I post a lot of stuff on Facebook, and now I'm trying to Twitter, and part of it is I go into classrooms, and part of it is I want them to be able to, if they have a question, to talk to me, ask me. I will try to tell you everything that I know. I am not one bit afraid of anything that I grow, and I'm very open about the fact that I grow GMO soybeans. There's quite a disconnect on. I'm a wheat farmer, so of course I get the gluten discussion, and that gluten is good. There are people that are allergic to it, just like people are allergic to peanuts and bees, for that matter. And there's other things that people are allergic to. Everybody is not allergic to gluten. And but no, it's an interesting perspective, because I get to do some stuff on the state and national level, and I get to be that voice. Try to be that voice for farmers, not only in Minnesota but for all farmers. And with a little luck, maybe I might add a little different angle. But I don't know. I think to be honest with you, I think I'm just a farmer, just like everybody else.
Carla, you take part in USFRA's Faces of Farming campaign. What's that been like? and
Been really great.
Some people might want to know why completely open yourself up and bring folks in and just let it all out there.
It has been really great. Just having the opportunity to speak at a national level and tell people about what's going on. And this really started, like everybody else, from when I came back to the farm. I had a friend who said, I have never once even thought about how milk gets to me. And it's just the way that it is. Like we've been saying, so far removed from the farm, and you actually don't even think about the process. So from there and going into the schools and giving tours and doing the blog Truth or Dairy, being able to not only have the online part of it, but then go out and speak to people face to face, has been, I really feel like there's a connection there, because people want to know. I mean, and then once they know you, then you're the person that they ask about antibiotics and organic and GMO and everything, and they know that they're talking to a reliable source. And so I love being the reliable source that they turn to instead of Google.
The other part of this program gives you guys the opportunity to ask questions of each other, maybe about farming practices or about how things are going, concerns that you have. So it will take this time to do that. And if you guys have questions for each other, ask them.
For either one of you guys, I tend to be very rural. I live in the very northwestern part of Minnesota. How far are you? Do you guys let classrooms and stuff come out to your farm? And how do you go about lining that up? And is it something that you guys put a lot of money towards, or is it something that I'm trying to figure out a way of getting a classroom to come out during soybean harvest or something like that, so they can see what we're doing, kind of be able to touch the crop, be out in the field. It's this concept, and I'm working with it too. The concept of people that are kind of getting afraid of their food, the whole Chipotle thing, all that kind of stuff, and I want them to understand that what we're doing is very natural and it's very safe, and it really isn't that different from what Grandpa did. We're just using modern technology.
We do live, like I said, like half an hour from Michigan State, and while it is a small town, we do have schools and tours, but something else that we have in our county and our state is breakfast on the farm or family fun on the farm through Farm Bureau. Do you have that program, the family fun on the farm or breakfast on the farm?
They do have some of that in Minnesota. I live in a county that we maybe have 5,500 people in our whole county.
Yeah.
And, so when it comes to that breakfast on the farm thing, we're very not popular. The concept of, they do a lot of that in kind of in central and southern Minnesota, but we're more rural than what people realize.
Well, I found that
So I'm just trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out something else to do.
I think any school will take an opportunity to come. We have schools ask a lot because it's not an opportunity that they'll get otherwise.
Yeah, we participate in Ag in the Classroom through Nebraska Farm Bureau, where they pair us up with a classroom in the state. Ours happened this year to be in Grand Island, which is just about 25 miles away. Probably maybe a little tough to get them out here to the farm, but they've been able to. We've sent them pictures and letters and stuff about what we're doing. That's kind of what we've been able to do. We're not probably quite as rural as Northwest Minnesota, but we're still a ways out. Like I said, an hour from kind of the bigger cities. But we do have some news outlets and TV stations that are pretty close by, and since we're near to them, we've had a lot of them come out to the farm, and so we've been able to, I guess, get our message out that way. My son's trying to invade the office. I think he wants to see what's going on.
What else is it?
Family operation.
Yeah.
What other questions do you have for each other?
I'm wondering. I was planning to do this out on my back deck, but it's 39 degrees right now with a north wind at 16. We don't get that May 20th or whatever we're at. And I know you guys are both quite a bit north of me. What's the temperature in Minnesota and Michigan right now?
Well,
right now
we actually got down to about 29. And we're actually at 34 right now, but there's still frost wherever the sun isn't hitting yet. So, but we do have sunshine, and we'll take it.
Yesterday it was 80, and today is 49. So I don't think we are going to chop anything today because it'll never dry. So I think it's perfect weather for opening the pool this weekend, so that if you want an ice bath, you will be all set.
I think
our high yesterday was 43.
How does that affect planting or even crop development? I mean, I'm in one of the I states, so we're used to 70, 80-degree weather this time of year, and being able to accumulate a lot of growing degrees. How does that change crop development for you in Minnesota, Teresa?
Well, the ground temperatures were actually quite a bit warmer when we planted. The spring wheat will survive. It will be just fine with it. We're pretty excited about planting the wheat early, just because it kind of gives that there'll be extra shoots and extra boots that come out of the wheat due to the fact that the ground is cool. The roots will be able to the root structure will be a little bit different. So with a little luck, the wheat will put out a lot of shoots and stuff. So the cool weather is very, very good for the spring wheat. Soybeans, on the other hand, when we planted them, the ground temperature was about 50 degrees. The ground temperature now is down to 37, which is fine for the fact that the soybeans didn't freeze due to the last couple nights. But it is putting some stress on those young seedlings, those soybean seedlings, and so we're hoping that with the sun, and we do get long days. Our sun's already coming up relatively early, and because come the middle of the summer now, when we start getting into June and stuff, sun will be up. You know, we'll see sun on the horizon at 4:30 in the morning, and we actually have sun on the horizon till about 11:30 at night. So we do get that longer those extra sun units. What we need right now is some heat units. So no, it is a concern. The sugar beet guys are very concerned about what's happened the last couple days because those beets were planted the middle of April, and small little sugar beet plants tend to freeze relatively easily. So, and I have not heard, but I'm assuming that there is going to be some replanting with that.
Any other questions? I don't see any. Thank you for coming, getting up so early and spending your morning with us.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We will see you all in.
Thank you for having me.
So we'll see you in about 4 weeks.
Okay.
Meet you too.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.